Good evening, everyone. Meteorologist Jessica Blum here alongside meteorologist Carmelo Lattuca here in the 1011 streaming studio on behalf of the 1011 Severe Weather Center. We got through the cold morning. I was not out in it. I will admit that. I kind of slept in a little bit early. Like I slept in today compared to. But it was crisp, wasn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, I wasn't out there, I think, when temperatures were at the lowest, but it was still a cold morning by any means.
It was. Looking at those low temperatures, we didn't get quite as cold as we thought, did we, Carmelo?
No, we thought there was a chance for some sub-zero low temperatures. Definitely saw it in Tacoma, 8 below zero. Whew. Don't like that. 5 below in Wayne, 1 below in Columbus, but right around 2 degrees in Lincoln. So, it's still our coldest morning of the season. We tie with just a couple days ago from this week, but 2 degrees when we should be in the low 20s.
The clouds certainly did a number, I think, on us. We saw some of those move in and around midnight, if not just before then. I think in around the 10 o'clock show, Brad was mentioning too. So that kept some temperatures in the teens. But yeah, quite the spread even in far eastern Nebraska, knowing that we were on the positive side of zero. Omaha dropped down to zero, and then some in northeast Nebraska. Granted, they might have a little more snow on the ground to melt, did drop below zero and quite a bit below zero, as you mentioned with Tacoma.
Not as bad out to the west, but no snowpack, and they weren't as cold out there yesterday afternoon, so that helped out. But these were low temperatures over the last 7 days, and at the top, you see it in that title. Low temperature today is 21 degrees. So last 7 days, they've all been below normal. 2 degrees Tuesday, 2 degrees today. We've done it twice. No pun intended there. But the next 7 days, looking a lot better. Maybe not so much. I think, what is it, Monday? Yes, Monday with that 9. Another single-digit low ahead of us, but more often than not, we'll be in the 20s. And as our average low continues to fall, we should be at or above average.
So that will be fairly nice, I think. Even knowing that high temperatures lately have been in the 20s, knowing low temperatures will be in the 20s, then we'll boost from there in the afternoon.
Wednesday.
Cannot wait for the middle of next week. We're going to get into some of that. But as for what's next, we're looking at several things. Maybe you've already heard a little whisperings about this weekend. We've got to talk about some of those details here this Thursday evening. But we are warmer tomorrow, namely by the afternoon, pushing toward 40 degrees. We do have winter weather in the forecast for this weekend as we do get colder and trend toward freezing, if not below that, toward the end of the weekend. And we are ready to talk about potential snowfall across Nebraska, especially adding up, I think, a little more so in northeast Nebraska as we've been looking at.
Yeah, the farther northeast you go, the better the chances are you're going to get accumulating snowfall and maybe even a couple inches, if not a little bit more than that. Northwest Iowa, southeast South Dakota, maybe in that 2 to 4 inch range. We'll talk about accumulations, but not as much here in Lincoln. I'm not saying nothing, but definitely not as much. And with 3 winter systems in the past week, because, last Saturday we had a winter storm, had a little bit of snow Monday. Now we have this to go on as we head into our Saturday. I think this is the least impactful of the 3 in Lincoln.
I agree.
So that's good.
I agree. We have a 40% chance for Lincoln on Saturday, and we are thinking that we set up on this rain-snow line. We tend to do that. It's easier to get warmer air in southeast Nebraska, and I think we'll set up on that line and maybe see a little more rain than snow, and that's what cuts into our potential for snowfall. And then you look at a colder day on Sunday, comparing the 2 weekend days really going forward. But current conditions out there, this is a little later for us to stream. We like to try and do this in the afternoon, but we're pushing it back a little bit tonight with some other things we had going on in the studio.
But we don't get these beautiful sunsets.
Exactly. That's what I mentioned. We're now getting a view of the sunset, and it is beautiful with that glow toward the horizon.
Very nice.
Really my favorite to look at our variety of cameras across the Skyview network. Here in Lincoln, though, around the 20s. And I think we're not going too far too fast from this number overnight.
No, instead of seeing, dramatically falling temperatures throughout the day yesterday, we're going to kind of stay steady. My overnight low temperature is 18, so we're talking about a 4-degree difference between
at
the
all,
next 12 hours or so. But the feel like temperatures, even with winds out of the south, still single digits, I think, possible tomorrow.
Yeah, and not to mention the airport at 22 degrees. A lot of us across town are around 22 degrees. Southeast Nebraska, more of the same. 25, though, in Beatrice, up to 30 and closer to freezing toward Hastings, Red Cloud, and Superior. Omaha's still trying to dig themselves out from zero this morning at 20.
But then it's a little bit nicer to the west. We had some 40s. We didn't get to 50 degrees today. I think there's a chance we could do it tomorrow, but 43 in Imperial, that's pretty good. 41 in North Platte, but only
comfortable
17 in
for this
Tacoma.
time of the year.
Yes, definitely more comfortable.
And this map is, again,
great.
impressive, flipping the other way.
It's wild how different this looked from noon today to now. I mean, there was a lot more purple on the map in central and especially southeastern Nebraska because we were falling from the day before. And then now we're just rising, so we're seeing a lot more, 10, almost 20 degrees warmer than this time yesterday.
Central Nebraska noticing the more comfortable evening out there for sure, being warmer by about 15 to 20 degrees. But there is a wind chill to talk about.
Better.
This is just, 10 degrees here in Lincoln, far eastern Nebraska, though, in the single digits here tonight. And even those 40s are feeling like 30s with a south wind, I think.
It's faded, but I see a 5 below in Storm Lake for a wind chill.
Ooh,
so don't like
that's
that.
gotten
Glad
better.
we're not there right now.
Yeah, a lot less snow for us compared to what Iowa saw from that last system over the weekend. A lot of us dealing with a south wind, and that is what helped warm us up today throughout the day, and of course some sunshine. So that was nice. I think we will actually see winds start to shift, though, by the end of this week.
And it really should help us out as we get into tomorrow. Temperatures starting off
tomorrow.
Almost 20 degrees, a light wind tomorrow, but we're starting almost 20 degrees warmer than we started today. So we should, compensate for that into the afternoon, and we'll get into the 40s. And, it was a little bit breezier out there today, but it's not terrible now.
Yeah, not too many more wind gusts to see at reporting stations across the state. Those clouds are kind of fading away at this point as you look at the last 4 hours in Nebraska. Mostly clear, maybe partly cloudy in some spots. But it's amazing to know that we're not going to see too much cloud cover tonight to keep those temperatures fairly steady. And then tomorrow, I think maybe a little bit more cloud cover building in throughout the day.
Yeah, and, usually when you get to clear skies, our temperatures, for the most part, plummet. But I think the winds out of the south overnight tonight will help us stay a little bit warmer. But, yes, an increase in clouds, I think, for sure tomorrow afternoon. I think there's a chance, a very small chance, some snowflakes, maybe some wintry precipitation
with
in northeastern
that little
Nebraska.
boundary moving through.
Very brief.
Yeah.
I'm not expecting, very little impact, if any. So tomorrow's going to be quiet, almost, I would say 95, 99% of the state. It's really Saturday. We'll fast forward to that now, and that's when we can start talking about the snow and the rain possibilities.
Yeah, I put a pause at 2 p.m. because that looks like where models are starting to amp it up a little bit.
Yeah, I think we'll be quiet through the morning. If you have any plans through the morning, I think you should be good, especially in eastern Nebraska, more so out to the west starting earlier in the day. But then snow, you see a lot more blue in northeast Nebraska, and it gets really close to Lincoln. I don't want to rule out snowflakes. I just don't know if we're going to see enough to really get close to an inch of snow. The chances today when we looked were not that high.
And you see as I move forward in time, we really are just set up on that rain-snow line. I think we could be warm enough to see a majority of it fall as some rain with some flakes mixing in and not amounting to much really at the surface, especially after a warm day maybe on Friday.
Right. If this was starting in the morning, I think we'd have a better chance of snow. But our high that we put today is 36 for Saturday. So you get into that 2, 3 p.m., that's usually your warmest part of the day now with the sun not out as long.
Yeah.
So we're going to be in the mid-upper 30s. Maybe it falls as snow, but it really shouldn't. It should have a hard time, I think, sticking like you just said, but maybe a little bit more snow on the backside as we get into the late evening.
And compared to last weekend, not as long of an event either. You don't have as many opportunities to just see snow starting to pile up. But northeast Nebraska, you'll see kind of I think the front of this system move through, and then as it kind of continues east, the backside brings a little bit more snow to northeast Nebraska Saturday night before it's clearing out fairly early on Sunday.
Yeah, Sunday, the quieter day. Of course, it's the colder day, though. So, we fall back into the 20s. So, it's going to be bitterly cold, well below average once again. But if you have any plans, I think Saturday morning is the time to go do them.
Yeah, and the opportunity for an inch of snow really better off to the north and east. You can see how sharp the gradient is and the chances and how far they drop off with only a little distance to go from northeast Nebraska and really into Iowa and South Dakota. Yeah.
I mean, that's a 50 to maybe 70, small part of 80% chance, but it's not a guarantee by any means, but your better chance is definitely to the north and east. So
Carmelo, as he was taking an early look at this, put together this snow map for us and a forecast for the 10-11 severe weather team. And severe weather center team, really, you've got a trace to an inch for much of eastern Nebraska. I think Lincoln leaning toward the lesser amount of even that range.
I think, like you just showed with that percentage of chance, not very high. But 1 to 3, I think, from Omaha to O'Neill, and then points northeast. And then again, the farther northeast you go, the better your chances of getting at least a couple inches of snow, if not a little bit more.
It feels like a lot of these systems lately are taking a similar track. Last weekend was favoring northeast Nebraska and into Iowa for some heavier snowfall. This appears
I think
to
it's
do
okay
the
if we're
same.
quiet this weekend. It's been
Yeah.
an active start to winter. I mean, last few years,
Do you feel busy,
I feel
Mr. Weekend
I feel
Meteorologist?
busier than last year. I think last year we were just like, when is it going to
Yeah,
happen?
yeah.
Oh, it's been 365
Twiddling our
days
thumbs.
between seasons that it's been, pushing a year since between the last snow and the first snow. And now it's just like, well, not that we're going to catch a break. I think it could certainly be more active, but if you just want to stay off a little bit northeast, that's fine by me.
Because we are trending drier and warmer next week. There's a lot less snow or wintry precipitation to talk about throughout the course of next week, which I think I'm looking forward to. Just a quiet week of weather.
I
after the
think it's
busy
hard
week.
to like envision though. Like the last week, the highs, or at this point in the year, our average high is still in the 40s, and we have just been barely able to get into the 20s. So it's just a really sharp, cold start to the year. But again, that's not normal. That's not average. It is unusual. So the fact that we are getting closer to average as we push further into December, I think that's kind of nice.
Yeah, temperatures tonight. This is your forecast into Friday morning, starting out in the teens and 20s.
Yes.
A lot more manageable than we were this morning.
Most certainly.
Getting out and about. Temperatures warming up to the 40s, if not close to 50 degrees in some spots tomorrow. So
Looks
the
great.
start of a brief warm up. Don't get used to it. Weekend's
very
going to get
brief.
a little colder. The morning lows, though, on Saturday don't look all that
No,
bad.
that's average.
And then you can see the difference across the state and who's going to see a little wintry precipitation, temperatures closer to freezing, and then areas not so much into the 50s.
Yeah, 50s in southwest Nebraska, but really nobody below 32, even in northeast Nebraska. So that does help us out a little bit. Maybe keeps us more as liquid precipitation. But as we go into Sunday, that's when we really start to drop off. We got going from 42 to 36 to 21.
Yeah.
So certainly cold Sunday, cold again Monday morning. But Tuesday and Wednesday, you got to look forward to as we get highs close to 50 and then overnight lows above freezing. That's incredible.
Yeah, very, very warm. Look at some of those mornings when you're talking about 30s for lows at this time of the year. And the 10-day forecast favors those warmer temperatures, especially for central and western Nebraska, North Platte, McCook up into the 60s next Tuesday.
I think this is almost identical to what we were saying yesterday. Coldest day in the next 10, Sunday. You got a lot more 20s there, warmest. I mean, we have 60s across some parts of western Nebraska Tuesday. Yeah, we cool down as we head into later parts of next week, but I mean, generally 30s and 40s, so not bad.
Not bad at all. And the precipitation chances kind of max out on Saturday for sure, especially in eastern Nebraska. 40% for Lincoln, 50% up toward Omaha. We've even dropped, I think, Omaha and Norfolk just a little bit. And then
maybe a little bit more active Wednesday, Thursday next week, but I mean, it's just more green than it was yesterday, but those are still chances below 30%, so we like to see that.
And then as for the outlooks going forward in time through the middle of the month, we are starting to lean a little bit for northern Nebraska toward above average precipitation. It's not a great chance, but between that 33 and 40% chance of seeing above average precipitation. Lincoln, much of southern Nebraska, leaning toward equal chances at above or below.
Yeah, I think we don't say it enough, honestly. I'm glad you've just brought that up. It's basically a 1 in 3 chance of either or happening. Normal, above normal, or below normal. I mean, there's just no clear signal is what we're seeing across a good chunk of the state. So it doesn't look active by any means in the capital city as we go further into December. Temperature-wise, though, I think this is a lot more interesting. I mean, you have a very, very tight gradient between a very warm western Nebraska, maybe a cooler northeastern Nebraska, and Lincoln, I mean, maybe getting now a little bit into that cooler than normal range, but it doesn't look terrible. When I see the darker blues, that's when I start to say, oh, this is a much colder surge of air coming in from the north. So it's not terrible.
And I haven't seen this shift too much, so I'm not sure if the upper level pattern maybe gets stuck with a ridge out to the west that promotes that warming for a while, but
maybe a little more active to our east with the troughing pattern.
So that'll be something we watch further in time. But as we kind of wrap this up here this evening, again, this weekend, I don't think we're going to see a whole lot of wintry precipitation in Lincoln, but a better chance for accumulating snow to the north and east through northeast Nebraska, and especially northwest Iowa and South Dakota. Could be some winter driving.
Yes, definitely. If you're heading off to the north,
of.
Stay tuned to the forecast, especially those traveling along I-29. That's really where it's going to start to see some snow the farther north you go.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate, Carmelo,
Of course,
you joining me as always here on this Thursday evening. We wish you a safe and hopefully warm Thursday evening as we continue to warm just a little bit by the end of this week. But for now, we'll say stay tuned to our 1011 weather app and, of course, all our streaming platforms for any updates to the forecast as we get closer to this weekend.